We still don't have a bloody intro.
Let's do it next week. We'll get one.
I'm going to sack Deck if you don't do one.
Yeah. Well, there you go. He knows now.
I'm on a thumbnail now.
All right, okay. This is probably quite a momentous moment, actually.
Now, to be fair, I thought...
You've been on it before, actually.
I've been on it before. I came onto it thinking, I've never been on a thumbnail before, and then I realised I was on one last... And it was a pretty deep podcast between me and you.
We've got a couple of them on this.
It was talking about never give up or something along them lines. Classic. I think it might have been... It might have been
One
the
of the first
very,
couple.
very... I think it was the first one. I think it was the very, very first XG files.
Does that mean we're going to have to do something deep again today?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Because you're talking about Bruno Fernandes. I actually don't know. Usually, sometimes I have an idea of what Steve's opinion might be on a certain player. I'm actually not sure what angle you're going to go on this.
So I've seen a couple of people bitching in the comments about Bruno Fernandes, but I read the comments and I was quite interested to see so much discourse about Bruno Fernandes. It's almost become a bit fashionable, in my opinion, that he ain't as good as everyone thinks he is. Because he came and shit goals, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a case now as like, it's the cool thing to do, or it's counterculture thing to do, or it's just being different to sort of criticise Bruno Fernandes. But, and the one thing that always got brought up about him was his ball retention.
That was even before he was signed. Yeah.
And ultimately, that stat that goes around, the player that loses the most possession in world football is Messi. And after that, it's Kevin De Bruyne. But there are also two people that are consistent. And at the moment, it's probably Trent as well, right? But within that sphere, what they're also doing is creating far more opportunities than everyone else.
That's why with those kind of metrics and stats, volume matters. Because you know when you're talking about who loses the ball the most, that's why percentages and success rates are a little bit more accurate. Because when you're doing, for example, if someone's trying like an incisive through ball once or twice a game, and one of them comes off and one doesn't, it's 50%. Do you know what I mean? If
you create a goal.
Yeah, if you create a goal. De Bruyne and Messi and that, they're always trying these things, so they're always going to lose the ball more, like you said.
Yeah.
But the thing
if
is,
centre half's doing it, you've got problems.
and that's the issue. But with the ceiling thing, I think people are more talking about the fact that when it comes to the type of team that United want to become under Ten Hag, someone that's a little bit more controlling, more possession-based, more orientated in that style, people feel like Bruno's lack of ball retention might affect.
But look at Messi and Kevin De Bruyne. They played in two of the most ball possession teams of all time. Barcelona,
that's where
Manchester
your volume
City.
comes from.
But that's the issue, though, because when we're comparing, it hurts to admit, but them two, they're better players.
I don't think anyone's arguing that.
So
I don't think there's anyone sitting there going, wait a minute,
So-
what? Whoa, hang on. No,
So
no one's
that's-
arguing. Right, comments. Surely no one's arguing that.
The question is, though, is
said that like
if
it was
you
a big
plot,
statement, innit?
if
Like-
you plot Bruno in that City
Messi's
team,
better than Bruno.
what are his numbers going to be like? What do you genuinely think? Just imagine it wasn't Bruno, it wasn't De
The problem
Bruyne,
is-
and it was Bruno.
Bruno, Messi and De Bruyne, and this might seem like an obvious statement, but to some people it's not because they're just labelled as creators. But they're not the same player. And you could probably throw Jack Grealish in that as well and say, these four people aren't the same player. Actually, Grealish and Messi are probably the closest and they're still nowhere near alike. But like, those four people are four totally different footballers, but they're given the label of creators. But is that fair, would you say?
And that's true.
And Bruno Fernandes, I think, has been an effective creator as much as he's been an effective goal scorer. The penalties give him a little bit of a bump on those numbers. Not a huge bump. I think people overstate. I think they got all penalties, but it wasn't all penalties.
It
Did, anyway.
I feel like we barely had any pens this season.
We haven't. Since Jurgen Klopp said United get loads of penalties, we've had none, I don't think, or two. Like,
That was like 2 years ago.
yeah, fucking nonsense. Honestly, from like, was it the start of COVID and VAR, United just shit penalties. It was fucking sensational.
That just
wasn't
shows
it?
that you can get in like the head of officials.
Do you know what?
But I don't think that there's... I think sometimes comparing him to others, and someone's mentioned Bruno Eriksson, Christian Eriksen. Christian Eriksen, again, is a different footballer, a totally different footballer. You're comparing apples and oranges here. You're not comparing the same thing. I think Bruno was extremely effective when we needed someone to come in and do what he did. And I think he's almost not been given a role because of how effective he was. And I think under Ten Hag, you might be starting to see him be moved into more of an effective team player, or try to be. And I think that's where it kind of is a little bit jarring.
Yeah, but I think that's natural because like when you are that standout player and the team starts to get better around you, you're not going to stand out as much. That's just like natural.
Also, another one of the narratives the narrative is that Bruno and Ronaldo seem to get in each other's way a little bit.
I think they do.
And that you know what I've noticed about Ronaldo? Ronaldo's started to become someone that, rather than go the other way, he's starting to drop in a lot of the time, particularly when he's not needed. And I don't know if that kind of gets in Bruno's way a little bit. And also the fact that Bruno tended to play for a large majority of his successful time at United almost like a second striker more than the 10.
Yeah.
Whereas Ten Hag wants the position to be a little bit deeper than it might have been played in past with a normal 4-2-3-1.
If you think of some number 10s of the Premier League era, who do you start to think of?
De Bruyne.
Yeah. Arguably an advanced
David
playmaker.
Silva.
Probably more like a 10.
Mesut Ozil.
Definitely a 10.
Is any more?
Cantona was a 10.
Cantona.
Cantona was a 10 that probably
Yeah.
occupied deeper lines.
Wayne
Bruno's probably
Rooney.
higher.
Bergkamp.
Bergkamp's probably the archetype of a 10. Where Bruno picks up the ball is very much like where Bergkamp picked up the ball, in my opinion. Very, very close to the striker, almost to the point of a strike partnership without actually having a link up with a striker the way those early 90s strikers used to link up together. Like Cantona and Cole was a 9 and a 10 partnership. You know, a lot of people go, Cantona's a striker. If you watch him with a 2022 eye, he played in between the lines. He had as many assists as he had goals. He was a 10. He was a creator. He was someone that made space for others. And at a time when back fours had used to been going up against people 4-4-2, that's my man, he's your man sort of thing, then what Cantona did extremely effectively was drag people out of position and make it easier for his strike partner to go score a goal because he would occupy space in between the lines. And that's when you started to see people move from the rigid 4-4-2s into the 4-3-3, the 4-5-1s, because they wanted to have someone sort of picking up that number 10 and sort of dealing with that role a little bit. I think Bruno's struggling because there's been a rotation of number 9s.
Yeah.
Have we had a number 9 play 30 consecutive games for us?
So he's not really been able to build up a rapport with
He's
anyone.
played with Martial, he's played with Cavani, he's played with Ronaldo, he's played with Rashford, he's played with Greenwood. Like there's so many players.
Yeah. And I think like you've got to start treating him like a number 10.
He's played with Igalo.
Can we get him back? He was well good.
Because it would just give everyone a bit of a
No,
boost.
he wasn't. So I was saying he was. Well, you know, on the Bruno thing is, part of me thinks that he's been a victim of his own success a little bit because he was performing at like an otherworldly rate when he first came.
Unsustainable.
Probably was. He did have he had the same issues then as he did now, but the trade-off is when Bruno's not having the goals and assists, you start to look at him and think, we're not going to let you get away with those things as much as fans. But that's,
is that
what I mean?
Is that fair?
It's not fair, but that's just the reality of it because people have always said jokes about Bruno, saying that he plays like there's a shot clock. Do you know what I mean? Remember we said that when he's a bit rushed.
How do I get
sometimes.
you to do that?
He's a bit rushed. It's not a positive thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes the thing is with Bruno, I feel like he's better in games where it's a little bit more open and it's a bit more transitional. I think for someone that's meant to be extremely creative, when we are trying to break a team now and that's low blocking, his cheap giveaways sometimes affect United's ability to sustain pressure.
Do you think because I think he's an emotional player, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think he's an emotional player, and I think sometimes because he's emotional, he panics or he at least rushes. And you saw it at times, last 10 minutes of the game last night. You're desperate to score, and he's so desperate to score that his decision-making looks like it's affected. And I know you mentioned it last night. When he doesn't score or assist, you do start to question, what do you do? But that's almost like a goalkeeper. Like, if you're saying, oh, you're not saving the shots, what do you do? Yeah. Obviously, you're not just going to take him out of the team because he missed a shot that he should have saved, something like that. And I think you've got to apply the same rule to Bruno in a certain
He looks
sense.
like he like tries too hard. And like you said, if you're not getting that goal, he's probably thinking he needs to try harder, play quicker, blah, blah, blah. But that isn't always the way it goes. But the thing is, that is something you've noticed of Bruno ever since he's joined United. That's definitely, that's not a form thing.
How old is he now?
That's
like 26?
That's not a thing about the rest of the
27.
squad. That's something about him.
You're not changing that now.
It is a flaw of him.
You're not changing that.
That's that's setting him because
I'd say that actually adds to his game as well. Because you remember that goal Ronaldo scored against Young Boys in the groups stage of the Champions League last year when he played that out Travella pass before anyone else saw it. Only Ronaldo and him saw it. But like if he was more chilled, he wouldn't have made that pass, and that led to a goal. So there's definitely some sort of he's rushing a bit, but no one else is rushing.
But
they're not on the same wavelength. You can't blame him fully, but you have to blame him a bit.
I don't think the conversation's just like purely like anti-Bruno or kind of criticising him or putting some sort of like heavy scrutiny on him. I think it's just a question of if United want to get to the absolute top level, can he be someone that you have in your team as a number 10? When you compare it, because of the fact of when United signed him, remember we spoke about this quite a number of occasions. It's the fact that a lot of teams didn't want Bruno because when they were looking at his stats and they were looking at his metrics and he was scouted by the big teams in Europe, they said that his ball retention wasn't good enough. And that is something that the elite teams valued.
But
Spurs
Do you know what I
wanted
mean?
him
but
at a time when they were trying to make that final
Yeah, but I
step.
said the elite team. Europe teams, do you know what I mean?
but then you have effective players, match winners, that I don't think have excellent decision making at the same time either. Like one I can never take to, and from a stats point of view, everyone's going to go, well, you're stupid and you should, is Harry Kane. But when I watch Harry Kane play, I think he makes so many wrong decisions. Now, he's clearly effective. He's shitting goals and he shits assists. He's clearly an effective player. But when I look at what a number 9 does and I look at some of the decisions he makes, I'm going to say selfish, right? And some people will go, well, strikers are meant to be selfish. But it's selfish in the wrong times. Like, the obvious example's the one where he should have passed to Sterling. England end up in a World Cup final. But it's more than that. It's sometimes when I see him come collect the ball on the halfway line and then do something with it and you go, I don't, like, justify that to me what you've just done. Why have you passed it there? Why have you done that? Why have you, like, and I know every player has questionable decisions, but that's something that I notice with Harry Kane that I see with Bruno sometimes where I go, if someone like interviewed you now and I'm sure they're doing this in video sessions, can you talk me through what the fuck you were doing there?
So do you think that happens too much with Bruno, or you just noticing it?
I see it with Bruno, but I also see it with other players. Sterling's one, Kane's one.
Do you reckon there's anyone in the United team right now who you could say doesn't do that?
No.
I don't think there is.
No, I think all of them. Christian Eriksen, I don't necessarily question what he's doing. I think he makes really, really good decisions.
He was poor against City though. But that's just playing a
nitpicking.
better team, innit? I was going to say with Eriksen, it's probably not long enough of a window to like decide whether he does that or not.
When you was watching Roy Keane, never once questioned, even when he was booting people, never once questioned what you're doing there. Like, he always just seemed to make instinctually good decisions.
But do you think that's because like us as United fans now, like you made the point about how is he a player who can be like in a top team? Like, that's the question we're all asking now as United fans. When your team's winning, like City is, or like we were 10 years ago, you're not asking that question. You're not like, oh, is he good enough to take us here? Do you reckon we need to just drop that a bit?
No, because I reckon there's some really interesting things.
Like,
United were relatively successful, and individually he was extremely successful, Ruud van Nistelrooy. But were United a better team without it all focusing through Ruud van Nistelrooy? Were United a better team when we diversified our forward line to be Rooney, Tevez and Ronaldo rather than just going whoosh through someone who could be shut down in Ruud van Nistelrooy? Look at what we won pre and post with and without Ruud van Nistelrooy. And there's an argument to be made that even though Ruud van Nistelrooy scored, I believe, 185 goals in 212 or 220 appearances, absolutely shit goals, was we a better team without him? Was his individual success to the detriment of the team's success? And is that something that can be said potentially of Bruno.
It's interesting because
And maybe that could also potentially be thrown at Harry Kane.
Because Wesley says like, are Bruno's passes not coming off because Bruno's got worse, or has the movement in front of him changed? And I did think there might have been a bit of that. Obviously, Bruno looks to me like someone that would prefer to play where it's transitional, and he's got more pace in front of him to hit those free balls that he likes to play. I think whenever Ronaldo's playing, I get the kind of inkling he tries to force it to him. And
Dushian says Harry Kane's class, you're a moron. I'm glad you really thought about what I was saying there.
Yeah, and the movement. To be fair,
I think Ronaldo having a poor season.
Yeah, Ronaldo definitely affects him.
But he's not the player he was last season.
By
country mile.
I disagree with that. Iwedi as well. He says that's cap about City and Newcastle changing owners. Newcastle have done nothing to warrant the hype you're giving them.
What?
I'd very much disagree. Newcastle are improving very, very quickly. And they're actually doing it top down, aren't they?
Bottom up.
Yeah,
bottom up.
I think they spent a lot of sense in the back end, and they spent a lot of money in the back end. The super chat there from Gordon. He says, "Is he down on confidence? Maybe he can barely get a shot on target at this stage. Yeah. Remember the Everton goal? How does that just leave his game? It's weird. You see a lot of things just desert players' games a lot of the time, and it's difficult to sort of pinpoint where and how, isn't it, sometimes?
Confidence is a massive thing, though, especially with Bruno. If you come into a club and just get the fire going again like he did when he joined in January in 2020, and now you're playing like this, of course you can have an affected confidence. And that affects you, because then you're chasing it back, aren't you? You're chasing... When you start very, 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 very good, that's the benchmark, and you're always chasing that.
The thing is, if Bruno doesn't play there, who else?
In that area. There's a few Donny van de Beek people.
Someone's going to say Donny van de Beek. I've seen a couple of them fan about people saying that maybe we should try Donny van de Beek instead of him.
No.
I'm surprised you're not along to that.
No.
I'm just observing what you're saying. I'm on screensaver face. I ain't got an opinion
I completely disagree with. Ericsson playing up there is what people have also said, but I also believed if there was a situation somehow that someone like a De Jong was here, or a Tielemans or someone like that,
you'd go with 2 8s.
It'd probably be Casemiro, Tielemans, Casemiro, De Jong, and then Ericsson would be giving Bruno Fernandes a serious run for his money.
But I think that number 10 role, I think this is what's really interesting is because there's a desire to overload and dominate the centre of the park, you see so many more. Like if you had to classify midfielders into a 6, 8, or 10. When you saw United be successful under Solskjaer, it was Matic, Herrera, Pogba, right? And you could classify those as 6, 8, and 10. And Pogba was an 8, but he was given the 10 sort of role, or the 10 sort of responsibilities. Yeah. When you look at Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, there's very much a 6, 8, 10 in there. When you look at Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, arguably the best midfield Europe's seen for the last decade, very much a 6, 8, 10 archetype. The way we're currently playing, and actually even the way that Ten Hag's been successful with Ajax, it might look like a pair of 6s and a 10, but it's always been a 6, 8, 10. It's always been someone doing the box-to-box, doing a bit of the legwork, being a bit more of the physical sort of dynamic midfielder, someone very much screening and playmaking from the back, and then someone that's given a bit more of the attacking responsibility. Now, I think the 10 is such a difficult position to play as a team trying to break into I think if you're the best team in the world, you can play a 10. Because that's the guy that's going to help put the final touches on some of the magic, right? But if you're a team that's trying to get into the top 4, having a 10 is too much of a luxury. I think you need more control in the centre of the park. And I could make a case that if Bruno was 15 yards deeper, and we was more symmetrical in the middle, and you can give the responsibility of the left-hand side to Ericsson, and the responsibility of the right-hand side to Bruno, and Casemiro can dominate that centre line, I think you would be a better midfield. Because I think you can isolate Bruno, you can make him get too high, too much into the forward line, and then that, like we've already sort of said, it crowds out Ronaldo, it crowds out that back line, especially in teams when they're playing a low block. He can't get the ball into where he is. And he ain't going to win an header.
Into Ronaldo.
Bruno, because he's playing as a 9.
Yeah, that's true. But it is an interesting point about Ronaldo and Bruno. mean, you were talking about it earlier on. How much of a factor do you think it is that they just can't play together, or do you think it's Ronaldo not being as good this season?
Because I'm hearing that it's a similar thing when they played together for Portugal. I don't know if they just operate in the same spaces. I'm not sure whether he's not really the style of forward that Bruno likes to play with.
Mm-hmm.
I think because Ronaldo's now changed his style, where he does seem to kind of drift towards the ball and drop in a little bit. Whether that's also a factor, I'm not quite sure. But the thing is, I can't blame Ronaldo because Ronaldo doesn't control Bruno's actions, and Bruno's always been a very erratic kind of player. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And I feel like if he just slowed down and composed a bit at times, he'd be phenomenal because he's got great technical ability. He's got a great eye for a pass. He's got moments of brilliance in him. But it's just the style that we're trying to get to of being a team that controls possession, dictates games, can carve teams open, sustains waves of possession and pressure. Bruno can be a bit of a negative sometimes because he just seems to force things.
Yeah, I know you
to give it away.
I think when it becomes more settled, though, he'll be all right, Bruno. Because we're still in transition. We're not yet at that point. Like having Ronaldo in that team, is he a long-term solution? No. We are still developing. I think when the team settles, I think Bruno will settle as well. I just think Bruno's too good of a player technically. And we know he's got that unbelievable decision-making ability. Like we know he's a versatile attacking midfielder. I just think when the team give it like a season or two, I think he'll really start shining again.
I'd just love to see him 10, 15 yards deeper.
Yeah. Because that
was meant to be the case anyway. I think, but then some people have said that he's even gone a bit higher now because Eriksen's played. But
he was playing false nine.
Think
for
about
ages.
Look back at the Arsenal game and where Bruno collected the ball for a couple of those goals instances, especially the first one. It's right where you want him. In between the lines, not too high, not too deep, and that's where it can be a danger.
I want him to be able to turn and play a forward pass when he gets on the ball. And if you think about if he's on the shoulder of the defence, he's not playing a forward pass from there. That's a shot, and that's not where you want him. Like the role of the 10 should be the number 10 in the dictionary. Next to it should be the guy that makes the assist. So that means you either drift out into the wide areas and make the final pass, or it's a through ball round a corner for the striker centrally. That should be what your number 10 practices. Can you pick up behind the 6, behind the 8, in front of the back 4? Can you pick up or to the side of a defence? Can you pick up in those zones and create for someone else? Now, you'll get goals being in those areas. Ball will bounce, the ricochet off someone, and you can just crack one, and you'll be in the right area to smash one in from there. But next to the role of that advanced midfielder should be the guy that makes the assists.
Well,
that's what it should be
assisting
called.
The assister as well. If he plays it out wide and cuts it back in.
The old hockey assist.
Pre-assist.
The pre-assist. But I don't know, because another thing that we was talking about, I know we've been looking at the stats, it's how Bruno compares to the likes of De Bruyne, and even as it pains me to say, Odegaard's having a great season as well as a number 10 and seems to be growing into a pretty class level 10 in that aspect. And he's different to De Bruyne in terms of De Bruyne has that bit of Bruno gene in him where he might give the ball away, he might be a bit loose and slack because he's always trying to find something. Where Odegaard's a little bit more
and De Bruyne gets a bit more of that as well. Like he might, let's say they lose it 10 times, Bruno loses it 10 times. Kevin De Bruyne losing it 10 times, or he could even lose it 20 times because City just have that much more instances of possession. And it has a little impact on them.
That's what I mean. Since Bruno joined the Premier League, De Bruyne has still had nearly double the amount of big chances created. That's 79.
Yeah.
When Bruno's had 41, which is still like a very respectable number. But like it's the fact he's had double. That's a massive factor of that is him being in a City team that just wins the league every other year, or more than every other year. And this season having Haaland in front of him.
But what we've seen from the stats in the league is that since Bruno's joined, his
creation,
his key passes per game's basically declined year in, year out.
Yeah, you're right. Like we were saying, it was that big boom.
Sometimes you blame the player in terms of his ability, but then there's so many more factors. It can be who he's playing with.
Yeah. It can be the formation, it can be who you're playing with, it can be the opposition. I thought a lot of people sort of criticising Ronaldo for being anonymous last night. I actually thought there was one
They're playing
certainty
about
in the
5
game.
and he was
There's one certainty in that game
squished.
was that Ronaldo was going to play because he said Martial's not going to play. So you as Neil Lennon preparing for United, you go, I know Ronaldo's going to play. I also know that this is a Champions League legend. This is a guy that scores goals no matter what. Let's try it as a focus for a defence. You've got to give the defence something to focus on. You can't just say, listen, lads, you're going to be backs against the wall for whatever. You've got to give them an idea to cling on to. And I think the idea that you give them to cling on to was we're going to double mark Ronaldo. And it nearly worked.
Yeah, I know. Those ammonia players would be like... Can you imagine just finding out you can be marking Ronaldo? You'd be like...
At Old Trafford.
Put everything into it. Of
course.
Everything.
That's funny. John Letts says anyone playing with Haaland will look like a world beater. Swap Bruno and De Bruyne, and Bruno is not a massive drop.
There's definitely something in that.
He's saying that like De Bruyne's just started assisting goals and being the player
Yeah,
he is
he's
this
been
season.
kind of like this for
He's been doing
for a
that
minute
since
or
before
two.
Haaland was there, mate.
I think there's something in that if he just meant City, like as a whole, not
I
just
I actually
Haaland.
disagree. I don't think...
How many goals do you reckon you scored up front for City?
I'm not on about that. I don't think Bruno...
No, just forget that. How many are you scoring for City? You get to play 90 minutes, 38 games in the league. They're not going to sub
In the
you off
Premier League.
for being shit. How many goals are you getting?
I'm getting 10.
I'm getting at least...
100%.
I'm getting at least 10.
I'd say that. I would guarantee you 5. You're getting 5.
If you just stand on the penalty
ricochets.
spot.
Bingo. What do you think I'm going to fucking run about? You lunatic.
Just stay offside.
So
the
you're just
whole
going to
game,
stand
just
offside
wait.
the whole game,
Yep.
stood under.
Yeah, but just
Listen.
wait, innit?
They'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, they'll get there.
They'll get there in a minute. They'll
might
get there in a
need-
minute.
they might
It's going to be a
need to get
cutback
there.
from fucking one of the boys. Just bosh. What's that? 10 yard out. Steve scores again. No fucking
Thing
day.
is, think about how many shots you'd miss.
I'm interested by this,
Don't
though.
matter.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
I'm
So
I'm
interested.
getting 9 shots a game.
but
Be
miss,
right.
miss. Goal.
I am fucking
I was like, he's fucking scored.
Proper celebrate like Thingy did away at Sheriff Ronaldo. Proper big Sue in the corner.
Yeah,
after being
you've
shit
missed
all game.
17 and we're losing 3-1. Hey. It's my 5th goal of the season. It's May, bro.
People keep saying Sancho can play number 10, but I don't know whether he...
Maybe
he's
one
a-
day.
He's just a winger to me. I think there's a lot more to a 10. I don't know if he's
He
mobile.
reminds me a bit of Janino.
I don't think he's mobile.
He reminds me a lot of Janino, Zola, those sort of dribblers. And I think because they was very effective 10s in the 90s, I think people think he could play like that.
I don't see him as a 10. He can do a job there.
I think he's got the vision.
Can do a
but
job
yeah,
there, but I don't know.
It's a different game, innit, when you play.
I think defensively, you'd want to have Sancho as a 10.
Right. This video is sponsored by the best ball trimmers in the world, so see what they've got to say. Michael Myers sure is scary, but the last thing you need is to be hairy this Halloween. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped have launched their 4th generation performance package to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience this spooky day. Turn your bite-sized treat into a king-size candy and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for getting 20% off and free shipping with the code XG20. Make the right call this spooky season. It's trick or trim. Ronaldo's just reminded me we do need to go to an aquarium. Do you reckon we get that done before I go to the World Cup?
Yeah, because I actually really want to go. I'm interested in sea life. I just don't like seafood.
You can ask the fish if they can see air or not.
Right. I'm gonna go throw some questions. So at the top of the show, I said to you, bear, lion.
Wait. Are we letting?
Or
I
gorilla.
letting the subs know what's going on right now.
Right. One of the questions someone asked me before, I said, what topics do you want for XG Files? And someone said, the bear, lion, and gorilla question. So I'm asking you, is the bear, lion, or gorilla? Who is the hardest? It's not who would you fight.
Bear.
Who's the
lion.
hardest out of them?
Bear.
You got to pick one. Who's your fighter and why?
Who's the hardest out of a lion, bear, or gorilla? That's easy.
Go on.
Bear.
Okay, reserve your judgment. And then Dre?
Thing is,
original thoughts?
my initial thoughts was bear, but lions, man, lions are the size of the mouth on them. If that lion just lands one bite on the polar bear, he's struggling.
This is the easiest question in the world I've.
But then no, because then bears are big mouths with big teeth as well, don't they? It's not the gorilla.
Why?
They're just like
Got
they just
opposable
look
thumbs?
like they look like
Do
bodybuilders,
they
don't
have
they?
opposable thumbs?
Michael Vine, that is my nightmare.
They are mad gorillas. Like apparently they eat each
You know
other.
them? Those nibbler fish that help your feet.
But what about them?
I could never do that.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
I think
I'd
there's
like
an
to
actual
do
answer to this. So the thing is, right,
So I'm saying bear, by the way.
The lion is by far the smallest. The lion is a lot smaller than a tiger. A tiger is a lot bigger than a lion.
Really?
I don't know why lions. Who's doing lions PR? Like the king of the jungle.
Disney.
Yeah, because tigers would fucking maul a lion.
They have stronger
Lions
teeth.
are quite small.
They have stronger bite force as well, tigers.
Yeah, lions.
Good beard.
There's fucking tigers in like Bengal that are just fucking like these tigers that have eaten like 400 dudes. You have to wear hats with eyes on the back of them because tigers will sneak up behind you and fucking jack you. Like tigers are off their chain, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so it ain't a lion. I think a gorilla could fuck a lion up, to be honest.
Really?
But a bear just fucking annihilates the pair of them.
Because it's bear generic as well, because you've got a bear, but
Bear
obviously
generic.
A polar bear is meant to be like almost an apex predator.
Yeah. And a brown bear.
Aren't,
as
aren't
well.
bears the only ones that are the only animals that, to be fair, lions an apex predator as well. Isn't
Not
it?
very mobile though, are
Yeah.
they?
What?
Or, no, they just
Who?
look a bit
Bears?
slow.
Nah, they're like NFL linebackers.
They can swim.
They're doing a 40,
I can't
they're doing
believe-
a 4.3
can't-
second 40, man.
I can't believe Dre just said a bear's slow.
No.
No, I said they're not very
So,
mobile.
Not
no,
very
they
mobile.
can sprint.
They can climb.
I'm talking like
They,
agility.
yeah, and here's the thing.
They're
They
agile
can
as well.
climb, they can swim, they can run. You ain't getting away from a bear. And it's stronger than the gorilla.
Can they drive?
And it's got teeth and claws like the lion.
Yeah.
The bear's gonna fuck your shit up. And the maddest thing is, and it's still like, my daughter's got a Bumblebee bear that she goes to bed with. We've fucking anthropomorphized bears to the point where they're these cute little cuddly things that children sleep with. It will eat you arsehole first. Like, it doesn't even wait till you're dead to eat you. It just eats you. Because it's like, what are you going to do? I'm just going to start eating you, and maybe I'll even leave you and come back for you, because that's how little I give a fuck about you.
Have you ever
At
seen a
least-
bear
Have I ever seen a bear? What, in real
life?
No.
Have you seen a bear on your hikes?
No, I hike
Right,
in
the
England.
peaks. In the peaks.
We are likely to see rabbits.
You've been
I
eating
see-
too many
I see
mushrooms. if you
pheasant.
saw
You just
a
never
bear
know.
in the
I
peaks.
see pheasants and I see rabbits.
You never know,
mushrooms.
though, really. You never actually
There
know,
are
do
supposed
you?
to be a lot of big cats, Joe, that people have like had like leopards and pumas and like little things
In
like
the UK?
that. Yeah, because people buy them as exotic pets, realize that if I fall asleep, this shit's going to eat my face. So just let it out into the woods and sin a bit.
What's it going to reproduce with, though?
Well, it doesn't, does it? So you got like 10 years of this thing just jacking sheep and stuff.
Can it not interbreed like that?
I have no idea.
There's stories though of people who had like lions or tigers as pets, and they just like, it was all sound. They had like a good relationship with them, and then one day, it just
It's
they
a
just
fucking
turned on
lion,
them.
bro.
They turned on them, or they just fell back to their natural instincts and fucked up the person. It's weird.
Kago
Who
says
would
lions
get
are not
that?
small at all.
Fucking pet.
They are compared to bears, and they are compared to tigers.
Get a fish.
They're not small compared to Labradors. No, I'll give you that.
What about a hamster, guinea pig, and that's it? Who's winning that?
Probably guinea pigs. Hamsters are small.
Yeah, but
That's such a boring one. I saw a funny question up there, though. I almost forgot about. Someone asked, "Do you think crabs? Do you think crabs think that fishes can fly?" Someone said that earlier, and I was thinking about it for ages.
Don't crabs swim as well, though?
Nah, they go.
Crabs don't swim, do they?
I don't know. I thought they did.
But then I thought crabs
They'll
don't
walk at the
I
bottom.
thought crabs won't think that fishes can fly because crabs come out onto the land and you won't see fishes.
Do
So
they
you reckon
think
they'll be
the birds are
confused about
swimming?
where they've gone? Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting question.
DB Cooper says bears don't really like fighting. Male lions do three things: fight, fucking eat. Yeah, but is that because they don't need to fight? Because they just fuck stuff up?
Yeah, I think bears just pick their thingies wisely. Oh yeah, crabs can swim apparently.
Do you reckon any human could beat a gorilla in a fight? Any human? If it was like the Great Khali.
Yeah.
You know the Great Khali?
No,
Mike
Well,
Tyson.
yeah, but like fighting like a tiny little
No.
gorilla. No chance.
no,
Not if it just like landed
no.
one. Caught him in the right
No.
place. Knocked him out.
Gorillas weigh 70, 80 stone.
and
Yeah.
it's
So you're
pure.
going to need a big person.
And what's the body fat saying?
There's more body fat in this
They're
table.
ripped as well.
Yeah, they're ripped. All they eat is bamboo, right? They're fucking huge. They're 60, 70, 80 stone.
They're not having protein
Zero
shakes, no.
body fat. just. I don't know what the relative strength of a gorilla is, but I know that they did some strength stuff with chimpanzees where they made them do like a 1-arm row to get food. And like these chimpanzees was like 1-arm rowing like 1,000 pound, like whilst texting. You know what I mean? Like it was the easiest. Just pull this lever, get some bananas, chilling
hanging off a tree.
Yeah. Can you just like think about how strong you've got to be to swing through stuff and catch stuff? Like this is obviously chimpanzees, but gorillas are way bigger.
I thought he was going to say wham.
Like, what animal?
Way
Say like
bigger.
prime Mike
I
Tyson.
love gorillas, by the way.
Say like prime Mike
I
Tyson.
named my company after a gorilla. Like, I fucking love gorillas.
What do you think
that makes
prime
sense.
Mike Tyson could
Have you ever met
fight
one?
and have a good fight against?
Never met a gorilla. I've been hit by an elephant's trunk though. Went to a safari park in Germany. Fucking elephant smacked me.
Did you climb over the fence?
No, it was a safari. You could literally go right up and touch them.
You know what annoys me about
box?
you know
feeding
what
it
annoys me about a zoo
No, I was watching it.
and like zoos and aquariums and stuff is like the fact that you got all these questions about animals, about sea creatures and that. And I feel like I'd go to a zoo on an aquarium and I'd just leave with more questions
I 100% think
That shows that you're interested,
I
though.
can't
than
wait
answers.
to take you to an
Because I'll be
aquarium.
going there looking for answers, and I think I'd just.
Zimzin
leave
says
with more
gorillas are like
questions.
200 kg tops. I'm gonna have to Google that because I'm sure they're like 800 pound. They're fucking huge, mate. Are you mad?
What's your
Some of them are like
favourite?
10
Yeah,
foot,
70
aren't they?
stone might have been a bit of hyperbole though.
Ronnie, what's your favourite animal?
My favorite animal. Not
Have you got
sure,
any
know.
pets?
No pets.
Have you ever had any pets?
I'd fish.
Apparently, it says they go up to 270 kg. So what's that in stone?
270
Convert
kg
it.
in stone.
That's the comment.
That's probably only like 30 stone.
The classic
42
question.
stone.
Brian Casey's put it in there. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 20 duck-sized
Oh,
horses?
20 duck-sized horses.
You just kick them all, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, that's obvious.
Imagine a horse-sized duck.
stand
You
on 'em.
imagine the fucking on it. Fuck
think-
all that noise. Look at swans. They're just big angry
but
ducks.
I literally-
They fuck you up.
That's true.
They're scary.
Big
I
neck,
think
though.
any animal,
like a
any
giraffe.
animal that's generally small and looks soft, I think they have a bit of a small man syndrome, don't they? Usually, a lot of them.
Sometimes.
Like
Like,
if
what do you reckon? I think Diesel probably weighs, what do you reckon? 40 pound? 20 kg?
Not sure. Never weighed him
Right,
Or asked him. Have you asked him?
or asked him.
so Diesel, I
You might
reckon,
know
I
that.
reckon he weighs 20, at most 25 kg, right? He's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, right? He broke a tooth. And it is, Staffies have this 3 prongs. Like you have your wisdom teeth, you've got 2 big prongs in the back at the back, right? Yeah? So you have 2 prongs in the teeth at the back, your molars. Staffies have a 3-pronged tooth. It's their big, strong tooth that they mush things up with, right?
Yeah.
He split the outside of that on a fucking chew toy and a ragger, right? And it broke away and it had spun round, but it was hanging on at the top by a thread. So I took him to the vet. No, he don't like the vets anyway. And he just tries to spread his legs out. Joe, you're fucking dragging him in.
At the car.
Yeah, he's just not having it in the slightest. I've tried to take him in, and I'm wearing jeans, and he's bit my leg through my jeans because he's that scared of going into the vets. I ended up having to like wrestle him, and it was like an actual fight with him, like a proper Ace Ventura comedy sort of fucking off the top turnbuckle, fucking elbowing him, right, just to try and hold him still.
Kevin Owens.
So the vet could get in his mouth because the vet was just it wasn't having any of it. He was like, I am not going near him, like until I could just hold his fucking mouth and we eventually got him still enough, but it must have bit me 7 or 8 times, like proper just fucking drawn blood and everything.
To get it out.
To the point where I had to fucking wrestle him, literally wrestle him, do some jujitsu shit on him to hold his mouth and head still, so the vet could just go bink and pull with some pliers like the outside of this tooth and get it off him. But this is a 20-kilogram dog.
Did he hate you for like the next 24 hours?
He's never been back to the vets.
I actually saw a dog.
I cannot take him to the vets.
Can he just sense when he's going there? Or?
Yeah, they must smell it or whatever. But like, we walk past it on walks, and he looks at you like, we're not. No, okay, cool. Like he knows exactly what's up.
Yeah,
I saw a 20-kilogram dog was fucking me up.
Were you trying to hold its mouth like that?
I was just trying to hold him down.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to bite my hands. He's biting my leg. He just doesn't want to be held down.
You'd have to keep the mouth shut, and then the doctor would go back.
So think about that.
there.
You're talking
He
about
did that.
So a
You're talking about your
gorilla
hand.
Yeah.
or a bear that weighs 10 times that He's just fucking you
And you're
up.
talking about
Weight
dogs.
classes for a reason.
Someone's literally said up there as well, like, I've 6.8mm says that he's seen a polar bear kill 5 dogs.
Oh, I bet you have, yeah.
So
Where does he live?
Polar bears are 10 feet tall.
they're not 10 feet
Alaska.
tall.
Polar bears are definitely 10 feet tall.
I think you're talking about a short-beard nose or something.
Nope, hang
10
on.
foot.
No, was it the short-nosed bear? Was the bear that was
Might even be 14 foot
was the
tall.
biggest bear ever, and it was. Someone correct me. The short-nosed.
The biggest
bear
bear ever. He had like
It
a
had
t-shirt.
it had like it was a huge bear, but then
Adult male polar bear,
it had, like, a
2.4
really
to 3
contradictive
meters.
name.
Look, 3 meters. 9.8 feet.
They got a picture of it.
10 foot tall.
Is that one specific or like average?
No, it just says adult male polar bears. They are this to this.
Wow.
Brown bears are smaller. Yeah, bears are
Yeah.
fucking massive. Like, animals will fuck you up.
So have we answered this?
We are, like, if you live in Australia or some of the random places in America or maybe the Amazon, I don't know you're watching this if you do, but in England, we have rabbits and pigeons.
And mice.
You are so safe in England. There's you've got to go out your way and piss off a fucking angry looking sheep or something to get hurt by an animal in England. Or like, I bet the most dangerous. Oh, I wonder, this is a question for the comments. What is the most dangerous animal in England? I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a seagull. Joe, if you looked at like the injuries per capita
Isn't it honey badger?
in England,
Can you get honey badgers in England?
yeah, probably. But like, I mean, I have no idea. But like, if you had to look at like which animals injure the more people in England, it's either dogs, just because there's loads of them
Yeah.
and people are dickheads, or a seagull, because seagulls just fucking have you, don't they? Or it'd be seagulls and toddlers.
Seagulls never had me.
Toddlers.
Yeah, but like
What is it that seagulls do? They fly.
just come and eat your food, yeah. If you're walking on the beach with some chips, that seagull's having them chips, mate. And if you're
they're
3,
so clever as well.
if you're
They are
3 years
so
old,
clever at it.
you're going to get hurt. So I reckon that is probably the animal, randomly, that hurts the most people in England. It's probably seagulls nicking people's chips.
What about bees?
Yeah, bees maybe.
Bees,
Or
man.
wasps.
Yeah, bees is
Or
a shout.
wasps.
Actually, I don't know. Like, I can't remember last time someone said to me they've been stung by a bee.
That's the thing. I know people who've been stung by a bee, but like, it's probably like 2 people.
I think it's become less common. I think they've gone less and less. They've become more and more timid, I reckon.
Well, they're dying, innit? Bees are dying. I remember last year, every time I saw a bee, it was one that was dead on the floor.
So
And
I think,
that is meant to be a signal
I think
that the world's about to be fucked.
I've seen less bees, but
Apparently.
I've seen spiders get bigger and bigger in England. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I fucking hate spiders.
And pigeons are braver.
Like, I think they are growing.
Pigeons are definitely getting braver.
And pigeons
100%.
getting braver is another one.
Pigeons don't give a fuck. And why are they all missing legs? Who's eating pigeon legs?
You know, like the way that
Getting stuck
the way
on shit.
pigeons.
What are they? Is they pirate pigeons? What the fuck are they losing legs
Yeah, but
doing?
you know what? They fucking crack on,
Do you know
don't they, pigeons?
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Do they?
Good
you,
on
ever
them.
see, you ever seen a
Good
pigeon with a
on them.
crutch, have you? Hey?
Rangers fans, but do you know the way pigeons move out? Used to move out the way for you.
Yeah, innit?
It's almost like we've got to move out the way for them in the city centre.
Now they're like, what are you saying?
You
You
look
all right?
walking and literally like, what? Gonna get
I
out
thought
the,
so. Don't fucking look at me.
Gonna get out of the way or what? Like, you know, I don't know what.
Oh, do you know what it might be? It might be like animals that run out in
Yeah.
the road and cause you to crash.
Deers.
Deers, yeah.
I don't think there's loads of that going on now.
I don't know. I reckon like in the country there'll be like more than you think. I don't know. Interesting though.
That's what I want.
I might look at stats of
Honestly,
it.
wouldn't be surprised if it was like seagulls.
Forget Bruno's chances created. Let's have a look at deers running on.
What is the most
Someone
dangerous
said
animal?
Graham Souness.
What animal injures the most people in England?
Good question. Should we do some research and have a look at it next week?
Yeah. Righty, wrapping it up. Got a preview out tomorrow for the Newcastle game, so make sure to check that out. If you're in the Manchester area this weekend, you want to come and watch the Paddock, we are playing Newton. We lost 4-0 to them last month, I think was it a month before?
Yeah.
A couple of months ago. So we're going out for revenge, hopefully. We put in a good performance and see how we do. And if you want to come watch, we're playing at Flixton. It's free entry. Come get amongst it.
See you in a bit.
See you later.
See you later.
Ta-ra.
Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.